Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you are new around here, this is the podcast that really helps you become not just an amazing travel advisor, but an amazing travel business owner. I am your host, Rita M. Perez, and I'm really excited about this week's topic because I talk about this a lot, but I don't think I've ever really fully addressed it on the podcast before about what it is. I have talked about this a lot at Marketing Business School, and when I do webinars like for host agencies, this does come up a lot. And you probably know this as more the marketing funnel. I like to call it the marketing matrix because I sometimes put this like in a quadrant, especially if you've attended the Plan Your Year workshop with me. You know that this is a very big, important element that we cover in Plan Your Year workshop, but we don't ever do a deep dive because there's just not enough time to do a deep dive on each of the 4 different levels or the 4 quadrants in the marketing matrix. So that is what this episode is for. So this might be like a nice refresher. This might hopefully give you a couple of ideas. This is also, I felt like this was a good one to put out now as well because I am currently trying to put together a program, and I'll talk about it more at the end of the podcast episode because you may be interested in joining us in this program that's coming up starting in March. Speaking of other things that are happening this month, I am going to invite you to a webinar that Corrine from Travel Biz Boss and Cruise Business Blueprint and I are going to be co-hosting next Tuesday, February 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Just go ahead and take a look at the show description and the link will be there. Now, I did get some text messages last week about where do I find the lead generation calculator, the one that I referenced last week in last week's episode for finding your numbers. That is also in the show description. So if I mention any links and I say I'm going to link it somewhere, it's going to be in the show description. So just go into the podcast app that you're looking at and you'll be able to see anything that I've linked up there. If by chance I've forgotten to link something up, just email me and I'll send you the link there as well. But I wanted to let you know about that link for that cruise business and marketing webinar that Corrine and I are going to host. The only people that will get access to the recording is people who are members of the Cruise Content Library. So just a heads up, if you're not a member of the Cruise Content Library, you'll want to make sure that you are tuning in live to be able to get all of the goodness from us live. There will be some like little special things that happen at that webinar. I really cannot wait, and so I hope that you can make it out there with us. So without further ado, let's get into one of my favorite topics, which is the marketing matrix. Now, I don't know if you were watching last week at Host Week, but I had done this visual of the marketing funnel. So I just want you to imagine, or like take your hands and almost like put it in a V. So it looks like you're holding up the marketing funnel, or just imagine just a funnel. At the top of that, typically people say attract. I don't like the word attract because for me, the word and the thought of attracting clients to you is very passive. Like you're just waiting for clients to show up on your door. And that does not happen. You have got to be proactive. Now, could that happen? Yes, it could, depending on which marketing strategies you're using. But I am very much pro you being proactive to getting the clients and not just waiting for them to find you. A lot of the work that you have to do in marketing has to not only start here, but be focused on here. I think this is the part where we miss out on, like, obviously we know we need to get clients, but we focus on things that aren't necessarily client getting activities. We focus on that next tier in the matrix, which is connecting or nurturing. And when I say these things, I'm typically calling out like email marketing and social media marketing, which I both love and do, but those things aren't getting me clients. They're helping to connect me with potential clients that have already met me somewhere else. So they needed to have met me somewhere else first, and then they're following me on my social media or they're getting my weekly emails because they've met me somewhere else. Like if I'm just sending out emails, but no one new is coming in there, I'm kind of talking to the same people who may or may not purchase. That's also why that meet phase is incredibly important, because even if you are running a referral type business at some point, you still need to be meeting people. It may not have to be as much like as in the beginning stages or if you're refueling your business, but you should never stop networking within your business. You just never know who you can run to at either different networking events or different like social events and what kinds of opportunities might be popping up. So you might be doing more meeting in the beginning than like once you've gotten some stability within your business. But you're always going to be doing connecting. That third level, so kind of closer to that bottom of the funnel, is going to be called convert. That means after you've met somebody, they've gotten to know you in the connect phase. Now they're ready to be your client and they've said, hello, pick me. I would like to work with you. And that's why it's a little bit lower, because you're going to have less people wanting to become your client than you will have people just floating around in your network and like your little black book of contacts, which it's great to have those little, the names in your little black book and all that. But you do need to have, we're all in a business, we need to be generating revenue. You need to be having those people who are actually going to convert into paid clients. It's not going to be everyone, and everyone that you meet shouldn't even be a client. I'll be very bold to say that. I think this is a Medea reference with the tree, and different people are roots and branches and leaves. The same thing is going to apply into your business. Not everybody that you know or that's going to be in your network is meant to be a client of yours, but they have value in other ways for your business. And then that final step, I also feel is a little bit forgotten sometimes, is that it's not just important to like deliver a really great client experience, but you want to keep those people in your orbit, and you want to make sure that they that you stay top of mind for them, so that they want to keep booking future trips for you and that they know that you're in business. Kind of like going back to Host Week last week, T. McNeil had a phenomenal session about this. So I'm going to give you some ideas, because I just gave you kind of like the general overview of what the matrix is. I'm going to go into each one now, but I highly also encourage you, and I will try to link it up here as well, to watch her presentation at Host Week, because she just gives so many incredible ideas. And she does talk about like, how do you budget this into the fees that you do have within your business. And like, she also talks about different ideas of how she sources some of these like special touches for reconnecting with your clients. So let's dive in a little bit, but before we do, I do have to mention that there are some things along this marketing matrix that you must do. You can also have team members do a couple of these items, like attract, meet. You need to be meeting. Like, you can't hire somebody to go to a networking event. That needs to be you that's going to a networking event and meeting other people. Like, that's just something, you are the boss of the business. You're the CEO of the business. Like, you need to be doing it. Now, that connecting phase, that's something that you might be able to outsource, like once you've hit that point in your business that you're like, I can't keep up with this because I need to be at meet and convert. So like those weekly emails that you might be sending out, those social media posts that you might be doing, you might be able to outsource that to like a marketing manager, whether that's like a full-on social media manager, or if you're going into different sources like email marketing membership or the Moxie and Fourth email membership. Those are different sources that you might want to seek out so that you don't have to put so much time and effort into doing those things. When it comes to converting, especially if you're a solopreneur, you're the one delivering on that. You've got all the contacts. You're putting these trips together. Now, I say you can maybe outsource this if you're starting to get a little bit of admin help. But some of these things, like you really need to be taking the lead on this and maybe directing people who you might be getting some admin help from. That last part, that reconnect, that is also something that either you can do or you can outsource it. I feel like depending on what business model you're running, because you can be a happy, content solopreneur doing all of the things, especially if you have a higher level of clientele, like a higher priced clientele, versus if you're like more premium and mass market budget. You may have to outsource that because you're most likely on the budget and you're going to be running more trips, meaning your time is going to be less, meaning you're going to have to outsource certain things. So again, this is going to be dependent on your business model. So what are some ideas that you can use to meet clients? So especially if you need clients in your travel agency, this needs to be the big focus. Definitely make sure that you are honing in on your messaging. And I would say, even if we're peeling back the layers to that, you really need to know who your ideal client is. And this needs to be more on the personal level. This is like really where you're the leader of a person business and not necessarily a travel business. There are a lot of things that you need to know about your client, because you can put out messaging, but if it doesn't speak to the people that you want to sell to, and a specific example of this, and I was just writing a blog post on this, is that I'll never forget like advisors who are marketing themselves as luxury travel advisors, but putting deals on their social media page and using the terms like budget. And I'm like, there's a disconnect here, because luxury, that's not the primary focus of theirs. They're not really caring too much about the budget per se. Now, the budget is important, but they're more focused on the experience and the outcomes of that. And especially nowadays with travel being a lot more intrinsic and not just checking off and like doing bucket list type items, you need to be focused on the people that you are working with. So being able to do some of that inner work. I actually got off a call today about someone who is most likely coming on the podcast in the beginning of March, because we're going to be talking about some of these things. So stay tuned for that. But some of the activities that you should be doing at this meat level in the marketing matrix, and feel free, like if you haven't already, take a piece of paper or do this like in a Google sheet and put 4 different quadrants. So just like mark it with a T on your paper and put meet, connect, convert, reconnect. You can put some of these ideas in those boxes, or you can start even like ideating, like thinking of the things that might be most beneficial for you and the time allowance that you have in your capacity. So obviously, in-person networking is going to be one of my top things to do. Virtual networking is another item to do. I would tend to do like not so much general type networking. Figure out like, are there men's networking groups? Are there women's networking groups? Are there LGBTQ plus networking groups? Like, what is there a niche? And I also say this because this is part of like knowing who your people are. Like, how niche specific can you get when it comes to networking? So I think like if you're a destination wedding specialist, I hope you're attending a lot of the local wedding vendor events, because I know here, at least in Central Florida, there are a ton of networking events. And especially now, we're coming up towards Valentine's Day. Festive season is the top season for getting engaged. So there should be a lot of wedding related and destination honeymoon related events that are happening that aren't necessarily networking, but getting to know the industry a little bit more. So thinking about that and being like really creative with that. I'm also a huge fan of creating your own networking opportunities. Now, this does work a little bit better if you do have a network of contacts that you already have and you're already working with, and you already know, whether that's from the career that you might have, maybe it's like a certain hobby that you might have. However, you have gotten like this little network going, maybe being able to conduct like your own little Zoom coffee chats, whether that's one-on-one or maybe like 2-on-1, or you have 3-on-1. So you have like different people that are in these opportunities. They don't have to be long Zoom sessions. Like I've done 2-on-1 networking where it was myself and 2 other people, and it's like a 15-minute chat, and it's bada boom, bada bing. We introduce ourselves, introduce what we do, we introduce our ask, and then like collectively we come up with different ideas for how to help that person with whatever ask that they have. And then you kind of get off the call, and sometimes we schedule follow-up coffee chats if we've never met a person before. Sometimes it just kind of you might not gel with the person, or you might not think of an opportunity until in the future. So again, you just never know what's going to happen from these. Creating content is a way, and I think of this like strategically as well. I know I just said social media is not necessarily a meet avenue, but if you're a little bit strategic, so I'm thinking YouTube. So if you're creating YouTube content, YouTube is a search engine. And so naturally, search engine optimization is going to be really great here. It's just a really great platform for people to be able to find you, or you're being a little bit more proactive compared to some of the other social medias. LinkedIn is a huge thing, and I know I talked about this last week. One of my favorite features about LinkedIn is that you can see how other people are interacting on LinkedIn. So if I have a connection that has liked or commented on somebody else's post, I can see that pop up on my feed. This helps your reach to be a little further out than solely by just like what's popping up in your feed through your connections. You can see what other people you're connected to are interested in. I've met so many people within the travel industry through that method, and that's actually a lot of the reason that like I'll have different guests on the podcast, or at Prep for Wave Week, or things like the Travel Tech Audio Summit, is because I've made some sort of connection through LinkedIn. Other ideas, and these are pretty standard ideas. I don't think these are going to be anything too new to you, but are there certain networking groups like Chambers of Commerce and BNI, Business Networking? I think the I stands for international, but I could be wrong. There's community groups like I belong to Rotary International, one of my chapters here. And then there's also things like Lions. I think there's also things like Elks Club and Moose Lodges and things like that that might also be really great for networking. Getting in front of other people's audiences is one of my favorite things, especially let's say that you are a family travel specialist. If there is a family, like a parenting podcast, you being able to go on a parenting podcast as a guest expert talking about the top 10 cities in the States that you need to visit or that are easier to visit with toddlers, that is going to be an incredible episode to listen to for those people that are super interested in. And thinking about that, like hyper specific type niche things, I'm not saying that you need to go on travel podcasts. You need to go on whatever interest type podcasts that your clients are interested in. So it even may be worthwhile to do like some sort of poll to figure out what are they interested in. Because I know there's parenting podcasts, there's finance podcasts, and figuring out like what your unique angle is, which is very much how to get in front of the media also. So like if you're going to do like a news network interview or like a news, like a print article or like a virtual news article, like for you to be quoted, it's not that you're putting out more standard information out there. You're being very specific. There are specific questions that people have or specific concerns about travel that people might have, and you have a certain unique angle because of all of your travel experiences, your travel connections, your travel knowledge. Like I need you to be confident in thinking that you have an amazing brain that has all this intellectual property, and you need to use it and be creative to be able to get on other people's audiences. So I mentioned the podcast, but this can be even like people who are doing Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube lives. This could even like being a guest blogger on somebody else's blog, like so submitting a blog article to them. There's also these different challenges or summits, virtual summits that you could be a guest speaker, a featured guest speaker on with that unique angle that you have. Also being searchable. This is a little bit more passive, but this is a long-term also way for people to be able to meet you. So that search engine, that AI engine optimization, utilizing a Google business profile, and I would say hashtags, but hashtags unfortunately are a little bit outdated now because if you're doing a certain amount of like keywords, not keyword stuffing, but if you're being very strategic with your keywords, especially like social media platforms are becoming very well versed and not needing to have hashtags. So maybe not hashtags, but more keyword focused. Running ads can be another way for people to be able to meet you and you to be able to meet people. And then attending events. Again, you don't have to be a vendor at the events. Some events might be really great for you to be a vendor for their event. But events can also just be really great ways to meet other people, whether that's potential clients or just more people to add to your little business black book there. I think I mentioned this last week, there's an event that's happening in a couple weeks here in Orlando that I am very interested in. I don't believe I'm going to get clients from that type of event. I mean, we'll see, but I think I'm going to be able to make really great contacts that can be like not only like business buddies, but like masterminding ideas, and then also just the conversations that happen at in-person events. Really gold, really solid over there. So once you have met somebody, it's not that you can be like, well, it was nice to meet you today at this networking event. Bye. No, you've got to keep that relationship going. You want to make sure that they stay in your orbit. And that is what that next piece, that connect piece, really does. So some of the ideas that might be here are really like having a coffee chat. And so that's like one of my favorite things. Now, in my Calendly link, when I set this up, because usually mine are virtual, I call this a not so coffee chat because I don't drink coffee myself. But everybody knows kind of what a coffee chat is. So I put my fun little spin to it there. This is going to work in some instances or not, because I always love to make the joke. Like if I'm meeting somebody in person, I'm not going to say to them, want to download my free guide? Because that sounds weird. But I will say, would you like to join me on a coffee chat? I'm happy to send you my link. And that sounds more natural. That sounds like a better fit for that type of instance. So I hope you get to, first, I'm sharing a lot of ideas. You don't have to do all of these ideas. Please don't do all of these ideas. My recommendation is for you to pick like 2 or 3 of the top favorites, things that feel good to you and that you know you can be successful at, and really focus in on doing those things. So I should have put that little disclaimer in the beginning because I don't want you to think you have to do all these things, because you certainly don't. Also, I'm mentioning a lot of things. This is not the only like extensive list of things that you could do. There are other ideas outside of these. These are just some of the ones that come first top of mind to me. So you can obviously offer that lead magnet, that free guide, especially if it's a digital. Maybe if somebody's happened upon your website because you have really good SEO, you offer them to download your free guide or whatever your lead magnet might be. And then they stay connected with you because you've gotten them through that lead magnet, and hopefully you're sending out, if not weekly emails, then monthly emails. Another thing in person that I do a lot is asking them to connect on LinkedIn. I did that a lot at PodFest recently. If I met somebody, I'm like, okay, well, let me start connecting with you on LinkedIn. And we've been having like really great chats thus far. Asking for a social media follow, I feel is like a totally natural thing, especially if you're doing like some sort of presentation or if you're on the media. I think like if you're going to be a podcast guest, this would be a really great call out. If you've got like some sort of Facebook group or a circle group, being able to tell people like, hey, you can join this group that I have. I put out weekly content for blah, 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 whatever it might be. If you've got your own podcast, this is a call to action that I have a lot because of this podcast. So if I'm attending a virtual event, or if I'm doing a presentation, frequently I will be mentioning about the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur podcast and making sure that you're listening here, because this is a way that I help to connect with you a little bit more. Invite them to an upcoming event that you'll be hosting or attending. So hosting, definitely, like if you're going to start hosting like your own webinars, and just hint out here for you, you do not have to host travel webinars with your BDM. You can host webinars on your own without BDMs. I'm just putting that out there and giving you permission, because I feel like sometimes you might get stuck in thinking that you might need to have your different BDMs with you all the time. And while BDMs are super amazing, there might be there are a couple bad potatoes that are out there. And so I just don't want you to have to rely on another company's representative to help you be successful, because again, this is your business and you need to be doing what's best for your business. So, permission here if you needed it. You do not need a BDM to host a webinar. You can host a webinar on your own about whatever destination or product that you would like. So people have started to meet you. Now they're connecting with you. They're figuring out, I might like this person. This person's really funny. I'm getting to know you. I'm getting to know, like, do we have the same types of values? Do we live in the same types of area? Do we like doing the same types of thing, like going to Broadway shows? They're also starting to hopefully they're starting to trust you at this phase, because that last part is what is going to get them to convert into that third phase, the conversion phase, to being a client. So you need to have those kind of factors in place, because somebody is definitely going to need to trust you a lot if you're going to be selling them a $10,000, a $50,000, or even $100,000 vacation. It's not like going out to the grocery store and going to pick up apples and other produce or protein or whatever. It is a big buy that is going to need a lot of trust. And also, like, thinking about that, making sure that you are just dropping in a random invitation, because I feel like we forget about that too. We're connecting with people, we're giving them this really great travel information, and then you forget to ask for the sale. And that is really important in order to make sales. You've got to ask for the sales, and not only like ask, but kind of like help people go through your process a little bit so that they know what it is like to work with you. What are some of those those expectations. So when they do end up working with you, they're kind of already prepped. Like it's not a shock that it takes like 48 hours to hear back from you on something, because you've already prepped them on that. So, and I feel like the lower that we go into this marketing matrix, the less type of ideas and items are in here, because again, there's not going to be as many people that are coming down here as well. And really, there's only so many ways that you can make sales and then also reconnect. So going into that conversion phase, again, asking them to do business with you, it's really, really simple, especially hopefully, like I'm thinking like a part of the funnel can be that you are putting out posts on LinkedIn. You're promoting that you're having a travel webinar. They attend the travel webinar and your call to action is to schedule a discovery call with you. They schedule that discovery call with you, and then they decide they're going to book their next river cruise with you. Ba-da-ba! How amazing is that? So it's kind of, there's all these different steps and there's different pieces to the different steps, but kind of making it really easy for you to design your own marketing matrix. That's part of why I want to give you a couple of different ideas here. So asking them to do business with you or asking them to refer business to you, especially if you know, and we all know, there are those people who love being control freaks and handling their own travel. You don't want those people as your clients. They are going to be PETA clients. Let them, though, refer business to you. You can ask for the referral. They may or may not give you the referral, but also, like, I want you to be aware that that is also a really great way to convert business, is especially if maybe you also are in the travel industry and you want to refer to another travel advisor. They specialize in safaris, you specialize in theme park. I am going to hope those are two very different types of trips. There's so much information that you need to know for both of those different types of trips. I'm going to hope that you aren't committing to doing both types of trips, because it might drive you a little bit crazy to have all that knowledge in your head and like stretch yourself that thin. That's more about what I think about, is that you're stretching yourself way too thin and not diving in deeper to either or of those. The great thing though is that if you know somebody that does theme park and you don't want to do theme park, or if you know somebody that does African safaris and you don't want to do African safaris, become their referral partner. So we can become our own referral partners in this industry. It's not necessarily that you have to go outside of it. And I just hope that we can do more of this, because the more that even we can refer to ourselves, I mean, I feel like it's second nature when it comes to other professions, like medical professions and lawyers. Like it was really easy for somebody, like a lawyer that I was working with, for a car accident to be like, well, I don't specialize in employment law, but here's somebody who I can refer you off to that. So knowing your lane is going to be super important when it comes to this specific instance as well. Conducting discovery calls, which I feel like can be a whole other episode on its own, but being able to conduct discovery calls, having that calendar link to make it easier for you. On that call, you're able to figure out if they are a fit or not. And part of the reason that you're able to figure this out is if you're asking really great questions. I'm going to refer to Whitney's session at Prep for Wave Week. Whitney from the Hive and Masters in Travel. She had a really great session on Sales Day about this and the questions that you ask to kind of qualify if clients are fit or not. I will also try and link that, but please forgive me if I forget to link it. You can go just to my YouTube channel and look at Prep for Wave Week on Sales Day and see that video too to get that. During this discovery call, you're also able to give like an overview of that working process. So if this is not somebody who follows you on social media or follows you on some of your other channels, that is part of a selling feature, I would say, is being able to outline what your process is. Inquiry forms. So if you do have forums on your website, having those readily available. I also think about this like as the group websites that you might be able to create on some of your CRMs. If you are doing some sort of a webinar and trying to promote a group trip, you better be sending people to these booking pages so it is easy to convert them post that webinar. And then, of course, there's sending the contracts, agreements, and the invoices. Moving on to our last step, it is reconnect. And reconnect, honestly, is going to be very similar to that connection phase. So not too many new things are needed here. It's really leaning more in because there's certain people who are going to connect with you. They will never convert to a client, and that's okay, especially if they're a really great referral partner to you. But you want to treat the people that have already spent money with you just a little extra special. And some ways that you can do that, I'm huge for like direct/snail mail. So if you want to be sending out birthday cards, holiday cards, thank you cards, maybe like even like passport reminders, your passport's expiring. I know a lot of these things can be done through email. It's just way extra special if it is done through snail mail because not a lot of other businesses are doing it. So it really does help you stand apart. You might be able, like just talking about direct mail, you might also be able to like buy mailing lists that can help you like reach new audiences. So that's another idea, not part of Reconnect. That's more of a meat strategy, but just a heads up as we're talking about direct mail. Check-in calls or check-in emails. So if somebody hasn't traveled with you in a year or a couple of years, just being able to check in like, hey, I know your anniversary is coming up. Hey, I know that big birthday's coming up. I wouldn't even pin it to like you're trying to sell them anything, especially if it's been a while since you've heard from them or interacted with them. Just put it out there like you are genuinely wanting to connect with them and see how things are going since their last trip with you, or however you want to frame it. And then, of course, engaging with their content on social media. And I would also say like being proactive here for those people that you are in constant or like pretty frequent communication. Do you know like what their dreams and goals with travel are? Are there certain like offers from suppliers that you're seeing out there? Be that matchmaker and be like, I know that you've been wanting to go to the Galapagos for a couple years. There's this really great promotion that I think you might really like. So that is the marketing matrix, everyone. I hope that this was super duper helpful. I know that you may be staying around because I did mention something at the beginning of this episode, and I really want to help more travel advisors with that meet and connect phase because I feel like we kind of miss it a lot. So I am in the very early stages right now of putting together kind of like a lead generation accelerator. I'm not sure if that's going to be like the final name, but that's really what this is, where there's going to be one pre-month and then 3 months of you working the lead generation plan. There's going to be certain actions that you need to be taking monthly in this program, and I will be checking in with you every month to see what your progress is like. You are going to have to submit. I'm creating Google Sheets where you're going to have to submit to me like any data, what you've done, because I want to keep a close eye on you, not to be like, oh, you haven't been doing things, but I want to hold you accountable to these things. And there will be a guarantee, but I don't have all the details sorted yet. So if you have been interested in working very closely with me and you have been interested and needing more clients within your travel agency, feel free to reach out. You're not committed to anything. If you reach out and you decide this program is not for you, I just wanted to go ahead and put it out there, put it in your ear that I am ultra committed to getting you results in 2026. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is when it comes to, or my mouth where my money, whatever that phrase is, when it comes to that, because I am just sick of seeing you stay on the sidelines, and I can't wait to see you grow and flourish, and I'm ready to do this with you. So I hope that this has been a super wonderful episode and giving you a little bit of clarity when it comes to like those different marketing phases. We've got lots of goodies for you, so head on over to the show description and we will see you here on the next episode, everybody. Bye. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.